Are you ready to take your business to the next level? Every day there are countless books and articles that are published offering the key on how to make your business a success. It's easy to feel overwhelmed trying to keep up and run your business. That's why Deb Creer created the Business Power Hour. Keep up on the latest trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. Let the Business Power Hour do the heavy work for you.
Good morning. Good morning. I am Deb Creer, and I am passionate about giving professionals the tools that they need to make themselves and their business as successful as possible. And this is program 1003. Out of 1002 programs, I have not discussed this subject. So I am so looking forward to speaking with my guest today. So please join me in welcoming Len Covello to our program today. Welcome, Len. How are you?
I'm doing amazing. Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be on and be the first talking about loyalty with you.
I love it. I love it. Well, let me tell people a little bit about you, and then we'll jump into it. So as Chief Technology Officer, Len Covello oversees the long-term technology vision of Engage People and is responsible for driving continued innovation. Len started his first technology company at the tender age of 18, and most recently was the Director and Chief Technology Officer with Access, which is formerly LRG Rewards. His passion is web-based application design and development across a wide variety of business applications, particularly in user interfaces and process automation. And some of that just went right over top of my head. So we're really going to have a good time talking. So again, Len, welcome.
Thank you so much. And I think you got it perfect there. Thank you.
Yay. Well, I always like to find out from my guests how it is that they got to where they are today. So how did you decide that technology and this specific use of technology is your passion in life?
Well, two separate things. I think technology is easier to draw a straight line. If you had mentioned loyalty to me before I got into this space, I wouldn't have gone,
who?
Exactly. And it's a wonderful thing because it's easy to talk to people about. You never know what you'll get into as far as a discipline. Like you mentioned, at an early age, I was just drawn to technology. When we were very young, my father saw the value in this and actually bought us a little personal computer that we played around with. So it always interested me. And I started really just playing around building things. It was infancy still, the internet, and websites were available, but you couldn't do much with them. So I was just always, keen on understanding what could happen, and started just a general organization. So we were just building web applications, more as professional services. And then we were introduced to someone who was one of the larger loyalty providers in Canada, running programs for some of the biggest FIs. And he just needed a simple website built for one of his clients. And then it just started, and we got to get under the hood of how that organization ran. And we just saw all these opportunities to make things better. And, myself started just a small company, a few people, and we slowly grew. So over time, understood more about technology. I'll tell anyone I learned on the job. School was definitely not the place to eventually become a CTO. So learned quite a bit that way. And just over the years, we started building, enhanced loyalty programs. And then we really picked apart loyalty in general. And started to see, how do we make these programs better? How do we innovate? And we've been fortunate enough to have amazing people. I tell everyone this organization is built on some really bright minds. So our people are definitely, the fact that the name's Engage People, just as much as it's outward facing for engaging others, it's the people inside our organization that help drive us. So, fast forward another, 45 years later, and I'm sitting here today, never would have thought I'd have been in loyalty, definitely love technology. And loyalty just drew me in. There's just so many things about this industry that, it's tied closely to payments. It's tied closely to user experience. Very much engages people. It's passionate for people. They love it. So it's drawn me in, and I'll argue I've never worked a day in my life since we got into this space.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Well, explain to it. Like I said, this is brand new to me. So explain to us what you mean by loyalty programs.
So a loyalty program can be anything. And the easy answer for everybody is, oh, I've got a credit card in my wallet and I earn points.
I get my points at the grocery store.
The grocery store. And then I redeem it for $10 off my next grocery purchase, or I buy a gift card or something to that. And that's part of the mechanics, but loyalty is really the relationship. And it's, as a consumer, you're giving something. So it's that partnership is you're giving something to the brand, whoever's running the loyalty program, and in exchange, they're rewarding you. Now that can be, shopping. So you've given them your business. You can be giving them information. Loyalty programs are very good at mining data and gathering consumer information. And in exchange for that relationship is, as a consumer, you're going to be rewarded. So the loyalty itself is the relationship. The way in which you earn, the way in which you're rewarded are mechanics, and that can happen in so many ways. There's paid loyalty. People don't think about it a lot, but Amazon Prime is a great example of paid loyalty.
Right? I get points, I buy stuff.
Or I pay for my subscription and I know I will have something maybe this afternoon, maybe next day. And I couldn't dream of a world, unfortunately, where I can't get something next day anymore. Kind of sad as a consumer and as a human, but that's the reality of it. So, for people that want to know the essence of loyalty, that's really it. It's the relationship between two parties. And most of the time it's a consumer and it's a brand.
Right. And it is brand loyalty. It's not just your points, right? And I'm a marketing person by trade. And of course, what we want to develop is loyalty, whether it's a product, a service, whatever. The woman who buys the same laundry detergent year after year after year after year, might not even always be getting her clothes clean, might be the most expensive, might be the least expensive, all those things, but she's loyal to that brand, right? And it really does take a lot sometimes for someone to not be loyal. But then, of course, you have the opposite. You have the, I'm going to go wherever, whenever. So how do you convince people that they should be loyal?
So the mechanics behind that, it's really interesting, and it's based on data. So a lot of these programs have a significant amount of data to understand what are those triggers. And really what they're trying to do is you're trying to take that segment of your population and just move them up. The occasional shopper, how do I make them be a regular shopper? The regular shopper, how do I make them exclusive? So there are different things that you can do, and it could be offers. You really got to find what's important to that person itself. And we talk a lot now in this industry, and we have for the last number of years, is personalization. And as a consumer now, what's going to make me loyal? It's very different. Deb needs something very different than Len does, than Jane does, and Stephen does. And with the data, you can do that. So for you may be more loyal to know that there's a specific product that's good to the environment, and that's really important to you. So they're going to hone in on that and understand that that's something powerful to you. And if they can satisfy that need, that's how they make you loyalty. I may be price driven, right? So actually I'm not loyal to the brand. I'm loyal to the cost of something. And effectively, can they match that with me as a consumer? And that's how the different offers get sent out. So when you're running these programs, it's how do you get people into specific segments, and then how do you target that segment to create loyalty? And there's a group of people that just never will be. They're convenience driven or cost driven, and it's very hard to get them. But when you do create that relationship, it's a wonderful bond. It's a strong bond, and you hear it all the time. People are advocating for brands or advocating for specific locations or retailers, and then when you've got that consumer, it's important to keep them. Like you said, you've got someone now. How do you keep that relationship going and have that continued rotation of them being a brand ambassador?
Right. And I find it interesting, when people stay loyal. I mentioned grocery stores. So, down here we have Kroger, which is, of course, one of the bigger chains. And right across the street from the Kroger that I go to is Publix. They have the same stuff, pretty much the same prices, a little bit different. Clearly their store brands are a little bit different, but I'm not usually a store brand type of person. But I do Kroger, and I do Kroger because I get points off on gas. Now, of course, here's the thing that, loyalty programs always have a love-hate relationship with. I don't always remember to redeem them, right? So they love the fact that, oh, hey, I didn't actually use that discount. But, but yeah, if you're given my choice, I go where I have that loyalty card. And Publix has a loyalty card. I just have never investigated to see even what it would get me, because I like Kroger.
Yeah. So one thing I'll touch on about the utilization of the points themselves, but customers, they get involved with the brand, and really it's what's going to work for that customer. So just as much as Kroger means something to you because of the benefits of the gas, Publix may have focused in on, potentially a travel reward or just a
Right.
discounted program. And that can be something that really engages another customer base. The usage of points is funny. I think a lot of people believe that they don't want you to use those points, and that's actually not true. The value in a loyalty program is to create that burn, that churn of points. They want those points cycling because there's a value to that. They know that if Deb's using those points, she is engaged.
Right.
Right.
Because when I buy my gas, I'm buying gas. Now it might be it's obviously at a discount, but I'm still buying the gas.
Yeah. So the gas company at that point, whether it's a Chevron, a BP, whoever it is, they were willing to pay something to make sure that Deb pulled into that gas station versus another. So they're going to buy those points from Kroger, or they'll have some type of relationship there. So that utilization, that churn of points, that's actually how loyalty programs also make money, is the selling of points.
Right.
And it's referred to as the CPP, the cost per point.
Okay.
It's how do they issue points at a certain value and ultimately sell them or buy them at a lesser value. And that's the margin that programs make. And I think people, they may have noticed in the news over the pandemic is a lot of airlines, especially just being large organizations, were leveraging the value of their loyalty program to borrow money to help sustain the business. So these programs have a significant amount of value, and that's all tied about the utilization of those points.
Right. And people get very passionate about it. I mean, you mentioned airlines. I'm in Atlanta, so Delta is here, and they announced that because there for a long time you had your points and they carried over for like a gazillion years. You never remembered that you had them, right? Or it was never quite enough, but you still had those points. Well, then they announced those points would start expiring. And people got really up in arms. And it was, I hadn't used it, but by gosh, I want to be able to have the opportunity to. But there are other programs where that happens, where, people, they're just, that's what they're there for. And you better not change it unless you're improving it.
Yeah. We've seen it time and time again. And it's this cautionary tale that I feel for some reason people don't want to learn from the past on this. So it does happen from time to time. Happened to a couple of our coalition programs up in Canada, and it almost signaled the doom for those programs when they did this. It's points expiry is a very touchy subject. And as a consumer, you have every right. It's something you've earned. It's a currency. That's, as our organization, we see this as a currency, and that's what's driven a lot of our growth. Is one of our products in market is we power the back end systems for pay with points. So we saw points, miles, whatever you want to call that currency, as basically a ubiquitous form of payment. So as a consumer, that's yours now. That's Deb's. You've earned that. You have every right to use that somewhere. And your utilization of those points, whether you have a few or a lot, you shouldn't have to save up for that vacation. If you want to use it for a coffee, great. If you want to buy a discount for for filling up your car with gas, great. You need to be able to use those points, and those are yours. So one of the, there's a few things that a program can do, but one of them is devaluing the currency or eliminating that currency with expiry are big no-nos, and you definitely see customer pushback on that.
Right. Unless in advance, and like the gas ones with Kroger, I think they're good for 2 months. And there's a maximum. I mean, you clearly cannot get your gas entirely free. It's, you can get up to like 20, 30 cents off. But yeah. And so then, okay, my points are going to expire. I better go gas up. So there's kind of that immediacy that's in there too. But yeah, I mean, when these are the rules, then we're going to play by the rules. It's when the rules change that people tend to get a little overexcited.
Yeah, I think points expiry, where we see it in programs, is as long as you're still engaged in the program. So it can be, 12 months or 18 months of inactivity. You get that as a brand. You're not loyal at that point. There's no loyalty if you go to Kroger once every 18 months. So and to your point, you know what you signed up for early on if you've got an expiry that far out. But to your point, when you change the rules of the game midway through the game, it definitely backfires.
Right. Unless, like we said, you make it better. Hey, we're going to double your points, or, something like that. We're like, ooh, cool. Right. So, when I think about loyalty programs, what I kind of assume is it's only the big guys the airlines, the grocery chains, the hotel chains. I mean, I'm actually very loyal when it comes to hotel stuff because I do get free nights. I travel enough. But can smaller businesses, aside from having the little punch cards, right? So this is kind of like an in between type of thing. Can smaller businesses develop loyalty? And maybe the punch cards really are a great example of a loyalty program for a small business.
Yeah, and that's still loyalty. I mean, the punch cards, you definitely want to advance the technology. I think there's opportunity for fraud, and that grows in
I
our
know.
industry as
I'm
well.
just going to go punch myself, right?
Yeah. But I think, Subway, before they ran in a whole other host of problems, was famous for that, right? You'd get the punches in that card or the little stickers, and you'd get a free sub. That's a fantastic loyalty program. There's nothing wrong with that. It's very simple. The rules of engagement are very clear to the customer, and they know that's what they're getting. So I would argue that regardless of the size of your organization, you can definitely run a loyalty program. It most definitely won't be as sophisticated as the big banks, the credit card issuers, the airlines, the hotels. They've just got a huge amount of marketing dollars behind this to run really sophisticated analytics. But at the end of the day, like we talked about early on, it's the relationship. And if I'm going to have the consumer walk back through my door and I'm going to give them a little something for that, you got a loyalty program.
Right. And like I mentioned, hotels. I mean, I love the hotel loyalty programs because of the perks, right? It's not just the points. It's I got a bottle of water, right? But I'm like, cool, I got a bottle of water or a little bit better parking spot or, some things like that. And it's funny. It really doesn't have to be very much for us to get pretty loyal.
Absolutely. I am the prime example of someone that is loyal to status. So there are times, so I get to fly around quite a bit for work and stay at a lot of hotels, similar to what you mentioned.
Right. So you're the silver, the gold, the platinum, the whatever.
It's exactly that. I forget from time to time that I probably have enough points to get 2 free nights at a hotel. Maybe get an airline ticket for free. I'm more interested in the fact, to your point, am I getting an upgrade? Do I get a little bit of a better line when I show up to the hotel? That $9 bottle of water, is it free when I get to the room? And it's those types of things that actually drive me. And I'll be honest, it's a little bit of a badge of honor when you do this stuff for work, and then when I'm traveling, socially with friends or with family, that advantage, it gives you that kind of badge of honor there. So that's what works with me.
I got us upgraded.
Exactly. My kids definitely love the fact that I travel for work when it's time for them to come on vacation.
I bet. Yeah. Years ago, I worked for a PR agency and I was in Colorado, and many of our clients were out in California because the company had relocated. And so about every quarter, I went with the CEO out to LA to meet with the clients. Now, he flew a lot. And so he always used points and all sorts of things. And, whatever. I mean, I didn't care. And, but his wife discovered that he was not getting me upgraded. And so from then on, I got to fly first class, and was like, well, hey, this is pretty cool. That was long enough ago that we got cookies, we got, all sorts of really fun stuff. But yeah, it was just the funniest thing. She was like, now, wait a minute, you made her sit back in coach and you were first. She said, that doesn't happen again. And I hadn't complained. I didn't care. I mean, it was like an hour and a half flight. It was not a huge deal, but yeah, that was pretty cool way to get the perks.
Yeah, definitely. That's a great story, right? That's an example of 2 types of loyalty. You're talking about the airline program and also you with that organization. To some people, that's enough to stay at an organization. The fact that they get to travel in business class or first class. So again, a different type of loyalty.
Right. And especially when expenses are tight, right? And so if you can use those points and things like that to upgrade and it's not costing anymore, then that's good.
Yeah, we saw this a lot over the last few years. The economy's definitely changed. And back to what I was mentioning, at Engage, we have a product called Access Plus. We're a white label organization, so you don't see our brands out there.
Okay.
But we're ultimately powering, a Bank of America customer to use their points on Amazon. And we just saw a tremendous lift in those programs where, you still needed to spend money as a consumer,
Right.
but all of a sudden, cost of goods went up.
Mm-hmm.
Potentially some people were laid off. So there was a little bit of, I'll call it human satisfaction as an organization, that we knew, now Deb at Kroger, her dollars will go a little bit further, as
Right.
opposed to just that flight or that, the proverbial toaster that we say people redeem in a loyalty program. So that utilization, or that ubiquitous currency, was something that we think brings tremendous value. And that means a lot to people. They're going to stay in a program if they're not feeling, filling up that tank of gas with the price of gas going up, or, as simple as it might sound, getting the same amount of groceries as they used to get 2 years ago. If that can be subsidized with the points, that's going to create huge loyalty as well.
Right. Right. Or, like I said, something as simple as that bottle of water. You've been traveling all day, you're hot, you're tired, they hand you a bottle of water. That makes me happy. And it costs them almost nothing, right? Because they buy the case, literally. So it costs them maybe 50 cents at the, even not even that much to give me that bottle of water. But I'm a happy little camper.
Yeah, I think those simple things are actually some of the biggest things that can switch a customer or keep a customer with you, is acknowledging, like you said, I've just traveled, I've got off a plane. The last thing I want to do is, go downstairs to the bar. I want to get my shoes off, or I don't want to travel outside of the hotel to get something. So those little things mean so much. And it's funny, you're talking about potentially a $300-$400 room a night.
Right.
And
a 50-cent bottle of water.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. It's a lot of times the little things are so meaningful, and especially the people working for you. So internal loyalty programs for your frontline staff are huge, because you want that relationship again. You or I, we show up at that hotel, we want that smiling person that understands we've just traveled and is going to help us out. So, if everyone had that mindset, I think the loyalty programs would actually do a lot better.
Oh yeah. And it really is, like you said, in many cases, something that's very simple. The last couple hotels that I have stayed in, hour or so after I have checked in, I get a text message. Hey, Deb, this is Erin down at the front desk, just making sure you got everything. And, and now I think there really was an Erin at the front desk. So it wasn't just something totally automated, but it could be. I mean, AI is so sophisticated anymore that that could be pretty easily done. But, and actually one time it was like, I texted back and I said, oh, I've got a light that's burned out. Poof, just like that. I mean, there was somebody that came with a light bulb, and clearly I could have walked over, I could pick up the phone, I could have called down, or I could have trotted my little self downstairs. But that text was what was unique. It was like, hey, this is kind of cool.
Yeah. You know what? You may have not, because it wouldn't have been matter to you whether the light bulb worked or not.
Right.
But that would have been your lasting memory of that hotel, as I showed up to this brand and the light bulb wasn't working, versus they've flipped that on their head now. They've given you a great experience, and you're an advocate for something so simple. They needed to get that fixed anyways. They've reached out to you. There's that personal connection. They've added the name. And I'd argue it probably was an automated system sending it, but there is an Erin downstairs. So receiving the incoming. And
yeah. So if I went downstairs and said, hey, Erin, she'd go, or he'd go, and that's one of those names, right?
Yeah.
Oh, hello. Right. And so, maybe it's timed, right? They know Erin works this shift, and then it's Bob, then it's Sue. But yeah, I mean, it just, it was, and again, it was something simple to do. And that's where I'm thinking, it's, to me, that's just a good marketing tool. It's like, somebody buys from us, we send them an email, we thank them for it. That's the same type of program.
Yeah, it's just thought, and going back to what I'm passionate about. So when we talk about user experience, it's those types of things. When we sit there, we've got a fantastic team. They sit there and they analyze everything. So, when you redeem for something on our programs, we always measured ourselves against e-commerce, not against other loyalty programs, because that's the expectation. You need to know that we got your order. You need to know that we're preparing to send it out. You need to know we've sent it, because that's managing your expectation along the way. It's not over communicating, because it's simple enough. You decide if it's a text, an alert on your phone.
Yeah, and you give people the option. Do you want an email? Do you want,
But that's the personalization. That's the relationship you're creating with someone, and that's the hook. That's what will keep you with that brand, because they spoke to me along the way. And at the end of the day, if it's automated or not, and to your point with generative AI, our vision is at some point that experience is fully personalized for you, because we're pretty close to doing some incredible things with that as well. So as that gets implemented, but I think you hit the nail on the head. If you manage that experience well, like everything else around that is kind of just table stakes. It's that relationship piece.
Right. And let's be honest, we get spoiled. We expect that. And when we don't get it, we notice. And so it's like, oh, I didn't get a bottle of water when I checked in, or what do you mean I don't get a discount on my gas, or, whatever it is. We're like, okay, I'm going to make sure I go back to the place that does do that.
Yeah, it's back to your points expire. You can't take something away once you've given it to a consumer. They get used to it, and it's almost expected. Hey, Amazon, what they've done for operations and logistics, I'm sure it's been a nightmare to every other organization.
Oh yeah. Everybody except Walmart. They had enough money to be able to compete.
Yeah. But you know what? They challenged people to up their game, which I think is a good thing, right? Are we a little spoiled as a society to expect something same day or next day?
Or 4 hours? Yes. I live where there's stuff I can get in 4 hours. And I tell you what, when COVID hit and we couldn't do that anymore, we're all like,
Could you imagine how terrible that I can't get the new charger for my phone in less than a day?
And I have a Walmart, a Kroger, a Publix within 5 minutes of my house. But no, I wanted the 4 hours from Amazon.
It's amazing. But again, I'd argue that's why, again, directionally as an organization. So we run end-to-end programs. We're tied into some of the biggest brands in the world as far as facilitating delivery of products. But we always saw the fact that we're not going to ever be able to compete with a Walmart, with an Amazon. So enabling that utilization of currency for us was the direction we took as an organization. And to your point, there's nothing we can do, Deb, as an organization to get you an iPad faster than Apple or Amazon can get it. It's just impossible. So we'd be lying. So we saw that. We put our hand up. I remember sitting in RFPs and getting shortlisted, and we put our hand up and said, you asked for a pricing sheet and an SLA sheet. We're going to be honest with you. Anyone that says they can buy a television cheaper than Best Buy or Walmart.
Right. Yeah. Because they're buying thousands of them at the same time. They have their own trucks that are delivering. I mean, all of those things.
Absolutely.
And one of the things that I really love is when they have flexibility. Now, obviously, it can't always happen or stuff would go nuts. We discovered what's called small boat cruising. So it's a small boat and cruises on rivers as opposed to the big ocean guys. I've done the big ocean guys, did not like being on a ship with 3,000 people. And it was now where we went was really cool. But yeah, I was like, hey, and so we discovered this cruise line. And so we've done the Mississippi River. We've done, all sorts of things, very small, like 100 people. So you get to know everybody. And so after you've gone twice, you're considered an Eagle member. And you don't get a punch card. I mean, it's small enough. They just keep it in the computers, right? And you don't have to worry about, where's my card? Where's my whatever? And then, but it does come with perks. It's the more you sail with them, the more perks you get. And so we had decided that we're going to go on what they call their Alaska small boat cruise next year. Goes where the big ships can't go. So this is going to be great fun. But we're going to take my aunt and uncle who have never done this. And so I don't do all this all online. I call because I know I'm going to get better customer service, right? If I call, spoke with this very lovely lady and I said, okay, I'm booking this. Now, this is not inexpensive. And so I told her, the second she pulled up my phone number. So she pulled up my account and she went, Miss Creer, how did you like your last cruise on the Puget Sound? And I'm saying, well, that was very cool. And so I told her what we wanted to do. And she said, yes, I see that you're an Eagle member. Here are the discounts that you're going to get. All of the premium excursions do not cost. So, that was pretty cool. I was thinking that was way cool. And I said, now here's the thing. I'm taking my aunt and uncle and they've never sailed with you before. And she said, wow, now I love this because, she did it with just like 2 clicks of the keyboard. I'll have to check with my manager, but I think I can get them made Eagle members. And she said, no, not at the level you're at. She said, but we can at least get them discounts and things like that. And I really did know that she was just, going to sit there and because she had the authority to be able to do that. But when I told my aunt and uncle, you're now Eagle members, they're like, yay. I mean, but it was just one of those things. It really was just a fun way for them to be able to give a little bit extra special service.
Yeah. And at what cost? I mean,
nothing.
being in marketing, no cost there.
Right.
The discount on this program was probably what the selling rate was anyways, and other people were inflated.
Oh yeah.
So just awesome. Like I think those are the things that are so great. Like you said, when you get a person on the other line that's really engaged with you, an advocate of their brand, and they're willing to do these little things. And I don't know the balance. I often question sometimes when you're at a hotel, why don't they upgrade more people? If you see business class on a plane empty, why don't they grab someone?
Yeah, it's an empty seat. Why not at least put somebody in it?
And I get they put value on that. So maybe there's value in someone seeing an empty seat. I'm not sure. I'm definitely not qualified to answer that question. But I think these little things are great. I think upgrading someone, I think giving them some type of status is just wonderful. And, they may have turned your aunt and uncle after they experienced this cruise into buying 2 or 3 cruises. You don't know.
Right. And it, like we said, it really is the simple things. I mean, you take a child on an airplane and they give them the plastic wings. That kid keeps those wings forever, and it cost him maybe a nickel, but I was like, well, I'm special. I'm, and I don't know, maybe it says, what it says about us, that something that simple really pleases us, but maybe it is that, it is pretty simple to make us happy.
You use the word special there, and that's so important. I'm going to flip this around. So travel in at least the hub that we have here in Toronto, we have the lounges, and Delta's got their Delta Club, and the lounge is a wonderful thing, and it's just great. It's easy to not have to think about grabbing food, and you get to the airport and you grab a coffee. Well, they started experiencing overcrowding of the lounges because you were getting lounge access with certain co-brand credit cards, and it really devalued it. And I can speak for myself. I remember sitting there once and there was a queue to get into the lounge. And I thought, here I am. How spoiled am I that I'm about to be led into a room with a couch, with a charger and free food and drinks. And I'm kind of upset that I can't walk right in. So sometimes giving too much of something, it loses the luster. It's not special anymore. Right. So it's, how do they manage that? How do they figure that out? Because that personalization, that point of feeling special is really what creates that connection.
Right. And that's where, especially like the bigger programs, that's where they have the levels. I joked about silver, gold, platinum, but that really is what they're doing. And of course, the nice thing is with technology, that's really easy to do. But it is about how do we make our customers feel special? The problem is so many times businesses don't care. But what that means is it's an opportunity for those that can do it.
100%. And sometimes they just don't do it right. There's a very, I don't know if I'll call him famous, a celebrity in the loyalty space. There's a gentleman, Mark, and he posts quite a bit, and he'll identify when major brands miss, right? So, you get on an airline and you're flying with them, and they'll start to advertise things to you. And it's like, well, me, I've flown with you 5 times. I've always been in business class. So why are you trying to sell me an upgrade to premium economy?
Right.
Or you're an airline, you have my passport information. I can't qualify for a US credit card if I'm from this country. So why are you promoting that to me? We see it,
right.
The casinos, they'll market to people and they'll miss. They know exactly what you've done in a casino. If I've been a blackjack player for the last 3 or 4 years, don't try and sell me on a slot machine. That's not me.
I'm not a slot player.
So having that data is really important. But if you don't use it properly, you can be just as offensive to someone. It's like, okay, I've been loyal to you, but you're really not listening to me as well. So you can miss on both sides sometimes. Right.
Do you remember when people used to get clout scores? This might be before your time. So clout scores on social media. And it ended in 2018. And it was one of these things where it launched in, and I had to pull it up. I'm not remembering this off the top of my head. I had to actually look. So it ran for about 10 years, and it was based strictly on social media. So what it was doing was it was looking at how many, this was it probably, maybe what it was doing was kind of the pre-influencer type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so what it did was, if you had X number of friends, and then or connections or whatever the heck, whatever platform you were on. And it really did like Twitter, because that was much easier to track. But and then if you mention companies, you got these bonuses. But yeah, they really were wanting everybody to be influencers. And I got some pretty cool little perks. Now they were little because I had like 10,000 connections. I mean, this was, certainly not a huge thing, but I got free chocolate. So I was real happy with that one. I remember a friend of mine, he was flying, and he flew a lot. I mean, like every week. And he happened to post that. Now he had hundreds of thousands of people following him. And so he happened to post going to wherever. Oh my God, they have such and such steakhouse there. I would love a steak from there, but it's just not going to work in my schedule. They had that delivered to him. So of course, he blasts social media with, wasn't this very cool? I was really crushed when they did away with clout, and I'm not sure why they did. Maybe it was because we started having just influencers on their own. But that is kind of this whole type of loyalty thing too, is, they want us to then be their advocates and say, this is fabulous. I got this perk. I got my seat upgraded. I got whatever. And because word of mouth is always the best type of advertising.
Yeah. And I wish, years ago when we first saw, YouTube and people doing things, there's so many things you wish you would have done, because these influencers are doing great for themselves and good on them. But yeah, as a brand, it's simple math. As a marketer, you sit there and say, what would it cost me to get this reach? And if someone's got 100,000 people following them, and they're really engaged in this, people
and it costs you a $50 steak dinner.
Full well to reach 100,000 people, it's not going to cost you $50 in any other way.
Right.
So it was a perfect example of the great way to do something.
It was. So that was something that, like I said, ended in 2018. What are some of the things that you see that are new and maybe kind of on the horizon?
So a lot of the programs these days, we talked about personalization, and it hasn't got to the point where it can get to now. And we've seen generative AI take off, and they use generative purposely. I think AI is a wonderful tool to help operations, right? How do I answer calls? How do I run chatbots more efficiently? But now, if we want to get personalized, and I really want to make you feel special, I can build that copy, I can build that email, that even that image when you land on my app or on my homepage, I can build that specifically for you at very minimal cost. We're talking about compute power here. And I think that's going to be a big thing, is we're going to have these models built to understand what they should and shouldn't do. They're going to continuously learn, and then it's going to be a very personalized relationship. That Aaron at the hotel is going to be more than a text, right? It's going to be, maybe something on the screen. You walk into the hotel, the screen says, welcome Deb right now. Maybe it's a different type of image because they know enough about you that really creates that relationship or engages with you in that way. So I think that's a big thing you're going to see with technology. We've just scratched the surface with the ubiquitous use of points, the pay with points. You're going to see a lot more of that. In my experience with loyalty, is there was a point where programs were very closed. So there was these coalition programs where everybody bought in, but there was kind of these anchors that ran the program. Then these programs get very closed. It's like, I only want you to use points to purchase from my hotel brand, and I'm only going to let you redeem for some gift cards and some merchandise, but nowhere else. That's shifted. What we're seeing is relationships built between programs, and you're seeing, I'm confident in my brand as a hotel, as a place to stay, that I'm going to have a relationship with a car company or car rental company. And I'm going to have a relationship with, maybe it's a Starbucks, maybe it's a 7-Eleven that I know is around enough of my locations. So we're seeing these programs build relationships, and these, I won't call them coalitions themselves, but really these, again, relationships is probably the right word for this. And they're going to allow you to use, so both burn and earn between programs. So now as a customer, those points are sitting there and it's got value to you and you can use it at a bunch of spots. I'm going to stay at the Hilton, and it doesn't mean I'm just getting a coffee at Hilton downstairs in the lobby, but I know I can go to any Starbucks and I can redeem my Hilton Honors for a coffee. And you're going to see a lot more of that in programs. So now, as a consumer, hey, my free coffee is from that stay I had last week. And that's the key, right? Is creating the memory of feeling special. Gift cards kind of ruined loyalty, I'm going to argue. And they're one of the highest redeeming products in a loyalty program outside of, travel is obviously a big piece, but a lot of people redeem for gift cards. And we've always said that the relationship's not there. I've shopped at Kroger for 2 weeks and I've redeemed for, you pick a brand, a Lululemon gift card or Starbucks gift card. I put that in my wallet. I don't necessarily remember that I got it for shopping at Kroger. When I use that relationship's gone. I don't have that connection. It's just something I had. And I don't know if I got that as a birthday present from a friend. I don't know if it was a reward at work.
Even if the card is branded, you might not even pay any attention to that.
Exactly. And that's what this is fixing is that relationship needs to be there. So the mechanics behind are allowing for that. The technology's come far enough along that we can do that. We can do that in real time. We see ourselves as a payment network. It just so happens that our currency is the loyalty currency. So again, those miles, those points. And, we've just tremendous lift where we've enabled this for programs. So like I mentioned, some of the biggest banks in the world, you can use their points at Amazon. You can use your points to buy down the gas. So you can get points off, dollars off for a gallon when you're buying gas. And the uptake is just incredible. And we're seeing people post about this. We're seeing people talk about this. So that's a huge, huge thing in loyalty as well.
Right. So what else is on the horizon?
On top of that, I'm really anxious just to see what continues to be out there. Like technology is just evolving so quickly. There's such amazing things.
Yeah. I mean, 5 years ago, we really didn't know what AI would, and now it's like, okay, it's my new virtual assistant.
Yeah. And what I'm a big advocate of is I think there's a ton of smart people out there. There's a ton of people with fantastic ideas. I love ideas, right? And I love what's possible, what can be done. So whenever these tools allow someone to bring their idea to fruition, that excites me. It's not necessarily how great NVIDIA's chip is that's, processing AI faster than anyone else. It's what's that kid thinking about down in Kentucky somewhere? What's that couple sitting in by India somewhere thinking about something great? And now they can bring it to fruition. The internet will allow that. The tools will allow that. That's actually what excites me, not just in loyalty, but in technology in general, is everyone's ideas have that possibility. And I think the art of possible is huge, right? It's such a great place to be. We're in a wonderful place right now as far as technology is concerned.
Right. Do you see that, like I said, it seems like it's the big guys, right, who do it. Do you see that because of technology, it is going to make it better for, small and medium-sized businesses to be able to offer these programs?
Yeah, I think the big guys, they fall. Eventually they fall. Now it takes some time, but we look back and we think, hey, Kmart, Sears, Toys R Us, they're all gone, right? Or shelves of themselves. So they do fall. Like as much as we sit back and it's pretty impossible to think of Amazon falling or Walmart falling, but there will be competitors, right? It's like the social media networks, right? Partially thanks to Elon Musk, but Twitter, no one ever thought of Twitter not being the top place to communicate. And a lot of people have come off that. So I'd argue, we'll call them the smaller guys, can definitely compete. They can definitely bring programs. And what I mentioned before, as cost for technology comes down, they can have things that compete with other brands. So we've got the Pizza Huts and the Papa John's, but there's no reason why, the single pizza chain can't have such a great program as well. And when you're walking down that street, you choose to go left instead of right because of what they can offer.
Right. And I mean, you mentioned coalition. I'm going to mention it in a different way. When you combine the small businesses with the bigger, I mean, Amazon is a fabulous example of that. I have a friend who is an Amazon retailer, and he sells little tchotchkes, little statues of things. He sells them, on flea markets and things like that. But his main business is selling them through Amazon. He could on his own, he could never reach what Amazon does. And of course, the funny thing is, so many people who buy on Amazon really they think they're buying from Amazon. They don't realize they're buying from a third party seller, which on occasion bites them. We've seen like I remember the Walmart ones where somebody sells T-shirts that you really didn't want that saying out there, right? Things like that. Yeah. But yeah, again, because of technology, these smaller businesses can combine and have much more power.
Yeah, that's a great example of where you're leveraging the power of Amazon. What you hope, and I know hope isn't really a strategy, but is the larger brands like the Amazon don't take advantage of that and don't push down. Like you want that win-win situation where Amazon's bringing value. They've got obviously some margin to cover their costs and profit, right. But your friend is still doing well for himself at a level that he couldn't have done by himself, or would have been a big risk to perhaps try to grow to that level. Right. So great examples of those relationships that are being created, leveraging the big brand to monetize yours.
Right. And I can also think of, so I live not too far from Marietta, which is a town here in Georgia. And they have, like a lot of Southern towns, the town square. And it really is this, square of, and you've got grass in the middle and all that stuff, and completely circled with businesses. That would be a perfect loyalty program, is all of those businesses, because you go here and you have lunch, you go here and you have dessert, and you go here and you have your cigar, and you go over there to shop. Individually, they probably couldn't do more than the punch cards. All together, they can combine and have the Marietta Square loyalty program.
Yeah, and that's a great opportunity for someone whose technology is already in place. So if you look at brands like Square who have the POS terminals, that's a wonderful opportunity for them to create that, and you can geofence it to say, it's still an opt-in, but the Marietta Square is a great place where, again, as a family at home, we're going to head down there as opposed to going somewhere else. I've been to Atlanta a number of times. I've been to, I think it's Alpharetta. It sounds familiar. Yep. Same idea. Love it. Incredible. And that's amazing, because now not every small town has to be overrun with big brands.
Right.
Right. As consumers, as I'm going to say Americans, even though I'm Canadian, you're still advocating for the small brand. There's something special about a owner-operator business, a restaurant, a bakery, whatever that is. So for them to be able to compete and bring value with each other is a wonderful win-win.
Right. Yeah. We mentioned, how spoiled we are by Amazon, but I love going into little boutiques and, things like that. So it's at least for now, we still have that combination that people really like, and we try really hard to not do the chain restaurants. Now, fast food aside, we try to not do the chains, and especially when we're traveling, right? I'm not going to go to Applebee's when I'm traveling, because it's the same food everywhere I go. I'm going to go to the little mom and pop place. And usually you have, hopefully better food. Sometimes maybe not, but you have a different experience there.
Yeah. And if we can find a way, and technology will allow for it. So it's really the people behind it. If you can find a way to create that, and you kind of get it with, the different trip advisors and whatnot, where people are recommending. So if you find a way to do that, Expedia bringing in not just the major brands, but, the bed and breakfasts of the world, is I can earn Expedia rewards by booking there. That's an example of what you're saying on the stays. That's the win-win. That's allowing us to still support the smaller brands that are going to give you something different, a special experience. More often than not, it's a hit. It can be a miss, but more often than not, it's a hit and it's something different. But they're going to get that foot traffic that they just couldn't compete with. They don't have the marketing dollars to do that. So huge value there.
Yeah. And when you tie things together, I was thinking like Airbnbs or, all those things. Okay, you stay in 4 different towns. Well, your 5th town, you're going to get a discount. And so, it's, and again, this is all possible because of technology.
Yeah. Bang on, right? Airbnb was a great example. If we look at Uber now, you can question some of their business practices in these larger organizations, and ultimately how they're treating the small retailer and how much margin is there for them. But, the things like the DoorDashes and the Uber Eats are huge. I would much rather order from a smaller location, a
Oh,
single
yeah.
shop or a double shop, than the larger brands, right? And not to knock them, they have their place. Like you said, you're on the road, and there's a major brand that you're going to hit for quick food, and you know what you're getting. But yeah, if we're home with a family and it's just too difficult for some reason to get out, or it's a little onerous, I'm going to type in the food I'm in the mood for, and I'm going to look for the smaller brands, because I believe I'm going to get a better value there.
Right. Yeah. And I think people tend to forget too that there's other ways to use these loyalty programs. I use my business credit card, and then I use my points to do things like buy a printer, and all of those things. So talk to us a little bit more about, the things that people might not think of, ways to use their points, their miles, their whatever.
I believe it starts with understanding, and there's a number of websites out there now, and people that talk about the best value for your specific habits. So, what's important to you? You made a great point there, right? Is there supplies I'm going to need for my business, and I know that using this specific business credit card is going to give me a few things. A lot of these business credit cards will also give you discounts and better return when you shop at specific brands. So you're gonna get extra points that way. But understanding, what's the ambition for me? Some people, it's a cashback program, right? It's very hard to move those people or to switch them. That's what they're
My husband,
for.
oh yeah, he's like, you have to use this card. We get cashback. I'm like, yeah, but I get Amazon points.
100%. And sometimes it's travel, right? It's knowing the fact that I want to take that vacation, and it's going to sting a lot less if my flights are covered. So I'm prepared to use this specific credit card. And, in the event when you can use a business card, or you can leverage some of the business things, I talked about earlier on, if I'm going to travel for work, a lot of times I'm an Air Canada Aeroplan member. The fact that I have that super elite status translates to benefit for me personally.
Right.
So of course, I'm going to put my hand up in our organization and keep advocating for doing things with this specific brand, because I've got a little bit of a personal vested interest in that as well. So as a consumer, I think the advice is, what are the things that are important to you, and where are your spends going to be, and then engage in those programs. And then the truth is, be loyal. Like pick a brand and be loyal to it, because you may not think it's something, but it definitely adds up. A lot of these programs have great, welcome bonuses and whatnot. So, you're probably, switching a single credit card and a few nights stay away from possibly a free trip.
Right. And and of course, the tricky thing though is we got to remember this, right? That's like why my points expired. I didn't remember that I had points, and so it's all about the communication. And I think that's one of the things where people, I think, get annoyed is they don't realize, hey, my points are going to expire. So how easy is it for the system to send an email and say, hey, your 5,000 points are going to expire in a week. Somewhere you want to go? Some restaurant you want to eat at? Or we send you a picture of the French fries or whatever. I mean, remind people that this is what's going to happen. And or even just that they have them. It's kind of like we all have these subscriptions that we don't even remember we have anymore. Well, we've got points and things that we don't remember we have.
Yeah, so easy. And we talked about AI again, and machine learning, and getting that email out to you that knows that you've ordered dinner once before from a specific restaurant. It's tied to your credit card. Why doesn't that co-brand credit card, that financial institution, say, hey, Deb, did you know if you keep up your spending habits, next Friday dinner's on us? You can argue who dinner's actually on, but that's a great example of you saying, you know what, Bank of America, Citi, Chase, whoever it was, sent me a note, and that's great. They're going to cover my Ruth Chris Steakhouse for the weekend, and you feel special about that. Not hard to do. Like you said, we go back to the text from Aaron. It's a wonderful example. I'll probably use in other meetings. It's such an easy thing to do for such tremendous value.
And really, like I said, I have no idea if it was automated. My guess is that it is automated, simply because people get busy, right? And it really did come about an hour after we arrived. If it's too long, then, whatever. If it's too short, you haven't unpacked. So there's, somebody sat down and figured out, okay, check with them in an hour. But it just, but they kept checking. Everything's still okay? Anything we can do for you? Hey, do you remember that today we have cinnamon rolls down on the breakfast thing? Cool. Cinnamon rolls, right? And, yeah, I mean, we can't say it enough. Technology is what makes all this happen, but it's just like, I tell people who are like, oh my God, we can't use AI. It still takes the people to drive it and to figure out, okay, you can tell people you get this, but if they don't care, it's not going to matter.
It's a tool at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
And there's the art of what's possible.
Mm-hmm.
The art piece of that still comes from humans, right?
Right.
Doesn't matter what you do. The art piece is still from humans. So, we can send as many messages, but knowing what to send them, knowing the type of copy that should be in there, that's still driven by someone with thought behind that. And I think that's just so much opportunity, right? That's the low hanging fruit.
Right.
Is just getting out to someone. When you're in a restaurant and that waiter doesn't come back to check on you, it's such a such a bad experience. Right. It's annoying. So this is an example where I want to be communicated with. I just want to check in. I'm going to say everything's fine, but I need you to acknowledge I'm here. And kudos to Erin, wherever he or she is. They did a great job.
Right. Well, Len, this really has been absolutely fascinating. And so, I think it's great information. If somebody is saying, ooh, I think I need to check out how to do this, how do they find Engage People, and what are the services that you provide?
So we build end-to-end loyalty solutions. So running a program from its infancy, from start to finish, and all the different pieces in between. So we're an enterprise organization. I think I mentioned some pretty big brands out there that are clients of ours today. So we run programs for some of the biggest brands in the world. And we do it in a white label fashion. So, our goal isn't to have the Engage brand out there, but for you to really love your relationship with that brand. You can learn a lot more about what we do and who we work with just by visiting our website. So engagepeople.com talks about our products, services, and also lists some of our clients and case studies. And then social media is great. We're very active on LinkedIn. So feel free to send a message in. You can always get me directly at Len Covello or hit our organization, and we monitor that, and we're always responding back. We love this dialogue. It's funny, I mentioned earlier, I'm a technologist, but we love loyalty. So any of these types of questions, love to talk to people about that. And even if it's just helping out.
Well, and especially when somebody says, I got an idea, right? Those are the fun conversations to have.
Yeah. It's in my space, it's one of the greatest things is when there's a blank whiteboard and someone has an idea or a thought, or they're thinking of something. It's that blank canvas to figure out the art of what's possible.
And like you said, we want to be unique. You don't want to be what everybody else is doing.
Yep.
So cool. Well, oh my gosh, this has been so much fun. And I have learned, and it's great information. I love this. It really has been absolutely fascinating. And your website is engagepeople.com. So, folks, check that out. There's all sorts of information there. So don't think, oh, I'm too small or I can't. No, go in and look at the information. It is great, but but we do have to end. Oh my gosh. So do you have any final thoughts that you want to leave everyone with?
I would just say again, back to push yourself. Technology's out there and it's a tool. You can do so much with it. Everyone is playing with the same, whether it's the 6 inches on a phone or it's the 17 inches on your monitor, everyone's playing with the same canvas. So don't limit yourself to the smaller brands, and to the big brands, watch out. There's some great ideas from small companies out there, and the tools are available to them. And be loyal, use your points. That's what they're there for, to the consumers.
I love it. Amazon started in a garage, right? Well, I am Deb Creer. I've been having such a fascinating discussion with Len Covello of Engage People. And until next time, everyone have a great day.
Tune in for our next program for even more trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. The Business Power Hour, hosted by Deb Creer, is proud to be part of the C-Suite Network.